To Trump, the world order is business, not diplomacy. He views relationships between nations as investment projects. He is a businessman who translates the balance of power into terms of a deal. America First is not just a simple slogan. It is a declaration to make America the absolute pivot of economy and security. Now, the U.S. is not a sponsor of the international community, but the master of maximum profit. Trump's attempt to buy Greenland was not a joke. He evaluated Greenland as a massive strategic asset. It was an M&A-style approach to preempt rare resources and Arctic routes. It was an investment for long-term American hegemony, not just territorial expansion. It is a case where business thinking is directly projected into foreign policy. It is a cold calculation to strengthen both American security and its economic future. Trump's policies consistently focus on securing American dominance. He choked off China through a relentless trade war. In trade negotiations with the EU, American interests were the top priority. He put continuous pressure on NATO regarding defense cost-sharing. He is a businessman who evaluates even allies based on cost-effectiveness. This is not isolationism, but a strategy to seize independent leadership. As of 2025, U.S. military spending reaches approximately $997 billion. The U.S. alone accounts for 37% of all global military spending. This scale is larger than China, Russia, and the entire EU combined. The U.S. is dominant not only in scale but also in qualitative superiority. Look at the world's strongest carrier strike groups, stealth jets, and global base networks. Even NATO is structured such that independent defense is impossible without U.S. support. American economic power is as destructive as its military power. As of 2025, the U.S. GDP is about $29 trillion, the largest in the world. It outperforms the EU and China, maintaining leadership in technology and finance. The dollar remains the most powerful tool of sanction the U.S. possesses. It has the power to bring rivals to their knees through financial pressure alone. The U.S. is effectively leading the global economy through trade and finance. Currently, competitors that can threaten the U.S. are disappearing. China is facing slowing growth and a severe debt crisis. The EU has lost strength due to internal division and political instability. Russia is consuming its national power in an endless war. No country can realistically compete with the U.S. on equal terms. In the end, America's absolute hegemony in economic power is maintained. Trump's vision is a realistic strategy based on objective data. The U.S. overwhelms others in military, economic, and diplomatic fields. His actions are an expression of his will to solidify American hegemony. The world order is being reorganized into U.S.-centric blocs. It is a choice between standing with the U.S. or being marginalized. This is the cold new normal of international politics designed by Trump. At this point, no nation can rival the United States. The U.S. holds an overwhelming lead in every single indicator. Trump's worldview is the engine that further strengthens this hegemony. The new international order is built around the absolute power of the U.S. This trend is highly likely to continue for decades to come. We are now living in a world dominated by America's Great Deal. The Econ PhD, once considered the pinnacle of academia. It might now be the most expensive ticket to unemployment. After years of dedication, what awaits is not glory, but a firmly bolted door. University budget cuts, government austerity, and corporate hiring freezes have hit all at once. All these disasters have converged into what we call a perfect storm. We analyze the reality of this brutal winter faced by those at the frontier of knowledge. Economists face reality not through intuition, but through raw data. The figures released by the American Economic Association are colder than expected. Tenure-track job openings have vanished by a third, lower than during the pandemic. Numbers never lie, they prove that this crisis is collective. The comfort of "I'm not alone" quickly turns into a contagion of fear. My path is blocked. The message delivered by these cold numbers is hotter and more painful than ever. Prestige is no longer a shield for employment. Elite PhDs from places like MIT are lowering their sights as interview invites dry up. As top-tier talent pushes down, the space for mid to low-tier graduates has vanished. This is a precursor to a structural collapse, far beyond a simple business cycle. As the ladder of opportunity breaks, the diversity of the academic ecosystem is under threat. The entire market is screaming silently under the weight of compressed competition. The core value economists study their whole lives is the efficient allocation of resources. Yet, their own labor market is operating in the most inefficient way possible. Talent is being forced into underemployment rather than being placed where they belong. This represents a massive loss of intellectual capital at a national level. It is a bitter irony born from the collision between academic ideals and reality. The law of resource allocation has collapsed most miserably right here. Job seekers use signaling, a Nobel-winning theory, to try and survive. They use every means possible to prove their capabilities to the market. But even the most sophisticated matching system is useless without the resource of jobs. It's like a world-class auctioneer swinging a gavel in an empty auction house. Economists understand this irony more painfully than anyone else. This fight, which cannot be solved even with knowledge, is why it's more tragic. With the expansion of the data economy, the value of an econ PhD is at an all-time high. Silicon Valley and policy institutions still crave their sophisticated analytical models. But for those whose survival is threatened today, future value is just empty talk. It is a heartbreaking situation where years of research are buried by a short-term recession. The engines of innovation are standing still because they cannot find their place. Beyond individual frustration, society as a whole is losing the opportunity to leap forward. This is not a temporary economic downturn. It is a classic structural shock where financial pressure, austerity, and cost-cutting meet. The waves of shock that economists used to study have now swallowed them whole. Structural adjustment for system improvement always demands a cruel sacrifice. And currently, the arrow of that sacrifice is aimed at the youngest and most capable scholars. The price to be paid is too high for this to be called mere labor pains for a new era. The classical belief in economics is trusting the market's ability to self-correct. Historically, a new spring has always followed a harsh winter. The problem is how many people will fall behind before that self-correction begins. Until the market regains balance, individual pain is borne entirely by the individual. A late arriving spring offers no compensation to the scholars who have already withered. Current pain has passed the breaking point. We cannot simply wait and trust the market. The crisis of econ PhDs should not be dismissed as a simple job shortage in one field. A society where high-level talent is lost is a society that has lost the power to design its future. When we neglect the frustration of intellectuals, innovation stops. This harsh winter is the final warning to our society's talent management system. Will we protect our intellectual capital, or will we overlook the extinction of talent? Now, it is society's turn to answer.
An insurer has started offering a 50% discount for Tesla FSD driving. This is not a gimmick just to increase subscribers. They receive vehicle telemetry data in real time. They separate human driving from AI driving by the mile. It is the peak of usage-based insurance, calculating rates with data. It's the first case of proving the efficacy of autonomy with cold hard cash. Insurers now know exactly when you turned on FSD. They identify the software version and even the sensor configuration. This is precision-targeted insurance that segments risk by the second. Prices are determined by when and with what software you drove. The data barrier between manufacturers and insurers has collapsed. A new global standard for shared responsibility begins here. Insurers are fundamentally entities that convert risk into money. They speak through accident data and underwriting models, not emotions. This is the result of confirming a significant drop in accident rates with FSD. It is on a different level from simple past safety assists. Real-time mode tracking is the most advanced approach in insurance history. When insurers reward with price, consumer behavior changes instantly. This discount doesn't mean level 5 autonomy has been perfected. It is not a declaration that the system completely replaces the driver. The core is the safety achieved when humans and systems combine. The collaboration of human and AI is stronger than a human alone. The system covers your mistakes and lowers the overall risk. Insurers have captured a commercial opportunity at this exact point. Of course, current data doesn't represent every road on Earth. These are samples collected under specific conditions and versions. A single update can make the system's performance swing at any time. Insurers are also fully aware of this technical variability. This move is not a free pass directly leading to regulatory approval. More independent verification and long-term data remain as homework. The NHTSA is still keeping a very close eye on Tesla. FSD limits and driver supervision issues are still hot debates. The risk of data bias has not yet been fully resolved. Legal battles over liability in accidents will be complex. If the regulatory climate changes, rates could be adjusted overnight. The speed of technology is ultimately a matter for legal frameworks. For investors, this news is a powerful signal for revenue acceleration. If insurance gets cheaper, FSD adoption rates will skyrocket. This means an increase in high-margin software subscription revenue. Vehicle usability improves and brand loyalty becomes rock solid. It's a structural shift from a mere manufacturer to an AI service giant. Market-based trust eventually becomes the basis for stock valuation. Tesla's product competitiveness is now decided by insurance premiums. It's the magic of maintenance costs being cut in half when using FSD. It secures overwhelming dominance in brand value and TCO. Of course, high valuations and recall risks still exist. Short-term volatility is an unavoidable destiny for investors. However, the core puzzle piece of the long-term growth story is set. This case will put massive pressure on the entire insurance industry. Tiered rates by software version will become the industry standard. As data sharing becomes routine, risk models will become more precise. Used car valuations and rental business models will change. Financial infrastructure for the robotaxi era is being built. We are in an era where software dictates the economic value of a car. Lemonade's experiment is a commercial victory for autonomous driving. Data-based rewards have a real impact on consumer strategy. It is the strongest catalyst to strengthen Tesla's subscription model. Realistic constraints will gradually wash away as data accumulates. For investors who can endure volatility, Tesla remains attractive. The flag of autonomy has now covered the real economy of insurance. Korean finance is currently chained by a massive wall of regulation. The recent App Store block is a vivid display of our outdated system. Choosing to shut doors out of fear destroys the very engine of market autonomy. This regulation-first mindset chokes the life out of new business models. You might stop an immediate risk, but the gap with global standards becomes permanent. This obsession with control is cutting off the seeds of Korea's financial future. The government hides behind investor protection to resist any real change. Blocking apps only drives people into more dangerous, unregulated back alleys. Services with blocked updates become easy targets for hackers and phishing. True protection isn't a ban, it's empowering users with transparency and education. When the method is wrong, even a valid cause ends up being discredited. We are repeating a paradox, suppressing symptoms while inflating the root cause. Our regulatory culture is deeply rooted in avoiding administrative responsibility. Fearing the blame for failure, bureaucrats choose the path of forbidden. Experimental policies die before birth because of political cost-benefit analysis. Conservative policies are drafted behind closed doors, ignoring expert voices. Regulations meant to promote innovation have become shackles that trip it up. This isn't just a policy error, it's a structural disease of an aging system. Korea lacks a regulated playground for safe derivative trading. With no legal environment at home, investor demand naturally leaks abroad. The root issue is a flawed design with no clear rules or infrastructure. Repeated bans only push the market into the shadows, blinding the regulators. Building proper infrastructure is the only path to long-term stability. Using bans to cover up a lack of infrastructure is a surrender of national edge. The US and Singapore manage risks through transparency instead of elimination. They solidified their status as financial hubs by embracing innovation via sandboxes. Unpredictable regulations drive talent and capital to more open markets. As the fintech ecosystem shrinks, diversity and efficiency vanish with it. Frequent policy shifts destroy long-term planning and kill growth potential. Obsession with control leads only to capital flight and lost global influence. We must expand sandboxes, controlled environments for bold experiments. We must build a safe domestic environment for derivatives with strict oversight. We must strengthen security tech so investors can protect themselves. We must bring foreign players into our system through global cooperation. Regulation should be the fertilizer for a healthy market, not a hammer to crush it. Only courageous change can strip the underdeveloped label from Korean finance. What we need is a grand transition, managing risk while embracing the challenge.